You know, I always thought it was important when it came to this culture of ours that we always documented ourselves and tell the stories ourselves to protect the dignity in it all, you know, and the authenticity of it all. We all came up with that from that tutelage. We all are cut from that similar cloth. And I remember in the 90s when the music business started sticking its claws into this culture we call hip-hop, you start seeing a lot of untruths circulate around what goes on in our everyday lives, what's going on in the history. And there was certain magazines and platforms that kind of held true to it, but as the ad dollars start coming in, the advertisements start coming in, you start really feeling the music business imprint on these supposedly hip-hop based platforms. And then about 20 years ago, the first of its kind, a platform called Allhiphop.com was born, you know, and I remember just from the title of it alone, I was thinking, okay, this is that shit that we come from, you know, and it didn't, and it helped me to rest that no matter what's going on around the business, there's always going to be a central location that you could go to where, man, I know they wrote that, I know this one had that headline, but let me go check allhiphop.com and see what the truth is. And let me tell you something, that may seem like a simple task for people who are listening. You may not be intertwined in the business, but it is extremely hard to keep your moral ground, to keep your dignity, to stay authentic in this business, and make a livelihood at the same time without giving in to certain pressures or, you know, corporate involvement that help dilute your message and what you started with in the first place. And I have to say, out of all the platforms, you know, and this is no disrespect to other platforms, if you take it that way, then I must be talking about you. But out of all the platforms that I've had a chance to witness be born and actually go to and trust and read from and learn from, there hasn't been one as pure as the one we're talking about right now, celebrating their 20 years of being in this game, allhiphop.com. We got the one and only, the founders. Grouchy Greg is here, and Chuck Creekmur is here. Greg and Chuck are here, baby. Citizens, let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate that 20 years, baby. 20 years. Come on, man. Salute. 20 years, man. Come on, man.
Wow. Congratulations.
What we talking about?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Let me ask you guys this, man. How did all hip hop? I know we're gonna go back.
Okay.
But how did it all start? What happened? Were y'all arguing about something one day, and or did a magazine or a publication piss you off, or you know, how did it start?
Wow, that's okay. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna make it short and quick. Me and Greg, first of all, we go back to high school. Number one, we're friends first and foremost, but we're both hip-hop dudes, as you know. In different cities and states, hip-hop has different factions and different crews and different things. So me and my brother and a few of my people were in kind of like one collective. Greg and his crew were a part of a collective, but we were always friends. Still competitive, but always friends. So as the 90s roll on, towards the end of the 90s, you start thinking about what you want to be and do in life. So maybe you weren't doing rap, you weren't rapping as much. You might not be on that cardboard like you used to, and you have to think about how to make money. So at the end of the day, both of us were early adopters of the internet. Greg had the name All Hip Hop and a website as well in that form. I had another one called Tantrum, and neither one of our efforts were going quite the way it should, right? So we met on a fateful day. You know what I'm saying? And we decided to do it together. Both from Delaware, I might add. You know, Delaware salute.
And to add what he was saying, what I was doing was a record label, you know, and the record label wasn't working out because we were talking physical sales at the time. And, you know, right around from 94 until like 97, I had already been aware of what MP3s were and wave files from producing, you know, using the Ensoniq EPS as, you know, making beats. So translating that into the internet was a very simple thing for me. So I thought that All Hip Hop was originally going to compete with Raucus as a label putting out hip hop artists, my hip hop artists, and it didn't work. So, you know, as Chuck is stating, we sat down one fateful day and said, yo, look, let me get some of that content from you. We get this name popping because he went to school for journalism, and we put it together. And
Wow.
we've been partners since late 97.
Okay, so do you remember what was your first big breaking story?
Well, I don't. Well, first of all, there were a lot of those, but the very, very beginning, we had a lot of interviews with DMX, Cannabis, Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel. We had almost every heavyweight at that time that was coming out. 98 was a big year.
That's a great year.
Yeah, that was a great year.
Yeah.
That was like the beginning of the beginning again, like the new era. So we had all those interviews, but I mean, we had a lot to do with Jam Master Jay dying, a lot of stuff around Jimmy Henchman, the Tupac shooting at Quad Studios. We kind of broke that story, who did it, or at least somebody who admitted to doing it.
Yeah, it all news-wise and rumors-wise, it kind of evolved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when we started doing daily hip-hop news, people would ask us, what are you doing? What is the internet? You know what I mean? It wasn't as part of our daily life as it is now, although both of us knew from also being into technology that it was going that way.
Yeah.
I mean, all you had to do is read the trade magazines at the time to understand broadband, cable, the things that were obstacles for us early on with the internet speed. You guys probably remember you would have to call in and get busy signals. And as those things worked themselves out and more people came on the internet, we were the go-to place.
Were you the first to do it digitally on the internet?
Not
quite,
the first.
not quite,
There were weekly sites, and
Okay.
it was mostly monthly and weekly. And I do believe we can lay claim to being the first daily site in the format that almost still currently exists: features, rumors, news, a community. But there were earlier brands that were online as well.
Okay, man, we got Chuck Creekmur is here, and Greg Watkins is here as well. Allhiphop.com. So what kind of in this transitionary process, we start when social media became huger, if you will, and then artists no longer needed to sit down and do interviews with people like us. What were some of the challenges that allhiphop.com has had to face over the years? Like, what's some of the major ones in that process?
Well, I think it's always a challenge. I mean, you would like to believe that the artists love you and they care about you, and you would like to believe that because you're black owned or because you're hip hop born and bred, that these artists would love to sit with you because you are who you are and you supported their career from day one. But we found that that's not necessarily the case.
Okay.
And that I think the challenge has been more recently to first get artists to really recognize you for what you are, but also for them to know that these other companies, cultures, corporately, don't really care about you. They just want to use you and use you up. So, for example, salute TMZ. No disrespect. I was there last week. Shout out to Van Lathan. But a lot of people rejected TMZ when it first came around because of the way they did journalism, and now they, it doesn't matter what happened the week before. If that next week they're in your face saying something, you embrace it. You know what I mean? So with all hip hop, I think that if we do something out of pocket or whatever, it might be a grudge for 3 to 5 years, or you know what I'm saying?
They didn't like the article. They ain't fucking with you for 3 to 5
Oh
years.
yeah, absolutely.
Who's done that? Like, give me an example of somebody who didn't really like an article.
I don't want to say any names, but
because it'll be another 3 to
it'd
5.
it'd be another 3 to 5 years, and a lot of
we try to make sure that I think that's why. We have the kind of credibility that we have is because unlike other brands, sometimes we do care, even if it might be sacrificing a big story, because we know there's a difference in us publishing it versus them publishing it.
Yeah.
They may never be on the red carpet with one of these artists, or they may never be in a party where nothing's going on. You're just hanging out too with one of these artists. So, that, has created we just try to be always aware that, our goal is not to ever trash the culture. You know what I'm saying? Even though we have to report what's happening and we try to dig into those kinds of stories, if it's something that we legitimately report on, then we do it. But
Well, we know where the bodies are buried. Like, it's
Yeah.
funny because, back in the day, you knew all this stuff. You knew who was gay. You knew everything. And you'd be like, all right, let me just hold on to that. I know you don't want this out there, so we're gonna protect you, so to speak, unless you want to come out, and that's your business. No problem.
Is that called journalistic integrity? Oh, you guys got integrity?
That's called respecting human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's real.
And no, I don't personally care what you do, but at the same time, I guess what I'm saying is, nowadays, if people find that information, they will exploit it for clicks, and hip hop will do that too.
Yeah, hip hop does it the most now.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of that, we had a conversation early this morning, and just chime in because we were debating whether or not if hip hop, the rules, so to speak, especially when you go into battle mode.
Right.
Are there rules? Because you said, and I can attest, you have information that
Right.
you held on to forever. But should you take that to whack sometimes? Should you hold off, especially when war has been waged?
There's
Should
no
you?
rules. There are no
Hey,
rules
man.
in war.
All I
There
know
are no rules.
I
They drop bombs on babies overseas.
I watch Smack.
No.
I'm just saying I watch Smack, quite a bit, and I'm like, yo, they be insulting each other
Yeah.
to that level. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it is what it is.
I'm saluting Remy Ma. I salute Pusha T. They both struck below the belt, well below the belt. And at the end of the day, when someone strikes you like that, you got to come back harder. And that's all there is to it. Now, back in the day, there might be some street ramifications, but let it be.
I was gonna say, just keep
I'm
it
saying.
out of war words.
Yeah.
Why take it to punching somebody in the face?
I'm
and
saying.
all of those things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, well, if both-
that right there is not the essence of hip hop.
sorry.
I guess what I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is that the physicality of hip hop, hip hop was started to avoid fighting. So if
we said this
morning.
so you can go
Yeah.
as hard as you want,
Yeah.
and you're not breaking the rules of hip hop.
Yeah.
But if you punch somebody in the face, you've broken the rules of hip hop, because that's not what it was started to stop those kinds of things.
That's we had that conversation. That's why the battle started to save lives.
A couple years ago, I wrote an open letter to Drake because Joe Budden had challenged him. And I wrote this open letter. It was so poetic. It was so eloquent. And I told him, I said, you need this battle. You need this battle. Because to achieve greatness, every real MC, not everybody's not a real MC, but if you profess to be a real MC, you need a battle.
Well, he
Even if
tried-
you lose.
he tried. Drake didn't reply.
I know. That's
Oh,
what I'm saying.
you're talking about Drake.
Yeah, but
Oh,
then,
yeah.
but then Drake replied to Meek.
And pick and
Drake,
choose.
and he shot shots at
Right.
Pusha too. I mean, Drake. I've always thought that Drake in a battle is somebody you got to fear. I always
Absolutely.
think he's clever like that, and his style the whole nine.
Yeah.
But this is beyond people have different. Jay Prince came on our show and said, "Nah, man, yeah."
You don't say no to Jay.
Yeah, when Jay Prince said it, I was
Prince.
like, hey, I respect that.
Yeah.
But we did come up in the frame of mind that, look, rather than shoot you or punch you, I'm gonna kill you with these words.
That's all I'm
And that's
talking
what the
about.
battles. That's
Absolutely.
what the battles was.
Look, all hip hop's had our battles, right? Remember, Elliott Wilson used to diss us every month in XXL.
Yeah, the source. We had to, sit down with Dave Mays and Benzino,
Yeah.
early on.
So y'all have publication battles?
What did
Absolutely.
Elliott say?
Oh, he used to trash us every
month.
every chance he got.
Yeah.
But then he'll
For no
see you,
reason.
and then y'all be laughing in person.
It's confusing.
Yeah,
it's
because-
very confusing.
He's just playing. He's just having
Man,
fun.
Listen, you know what? I'll tell you this. I used to wake up and my cell phone back then would be going off the hook. Look what they said about you in XXL. And at the same time, we would be meeting with the publisher of XXL, Dennis Page, because he was very interested in all hip hop before they were online.
Yeah.
So, we would be in the office meeting with the publisher and see them in the building. And, then we would read these scathing articles. Well, not scathing, but these editorials, and I always looked at it like, hey, it's our name in offline print.
Yeah.
I used to get a great thrill seeing all of these magazines putting us in print because it was helping us expand our audience. So
Yeah.
I never looked at it. I didn't appreciate it, but I also never looked at it like, getting so mad over it. It helped get our name out either way.
But how did you if we all hung out, we all same friend circle, if you will. How would you see Elliott and then y'all would be cool, right?
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna keep it real with you. We saw him in person at one point, and I was like, "What's good?" And he was just regular, and I just didn't understand that. It was like a handshake and a pound, and I was just like,
man, you know what, Sway? You know what, Sway?
Yeah.
Me personally, I just don't care. I just keep it pushing because
you
know
a grown
what?
man.
Not just that, but I don't want to get my hands dirty. I don't want to argue with nobody. I'm here to have a good time.
Right.
And all of that petty stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna walk up to anybody and be like, yo, my chest out. Whatever. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying, but I'm saying,
just like we talking about. I'm just saying, just like we talking about with Drake. It's like
Elliott, I think, sees it as a sport.
Yeah.
So he didn't see it as, if I'm shooting at your platform, I'm not shooting at you personally.
right,
You know what I mean?
True, but I'm from Delaware, and it's a
Chuck
different
still
set of
dealing
rules.
with y'all. Chuck some tea. What did y'all say to Benzino and Dave Mays?
Nah, I wasn't. Well, I don't know. I avoided all that stuff.
Nah, Zeno, me and Zeno are cool. You know what I mean? But before, as Allhiphop was coming about, they just wanted to know what we were. What are we doing? That was really it. You know what I mean? And they wanted to understand how we were doing what we were doing. So, we went. We had to sit down with them, made sure everything was cool because it's the source. Zeno's a street dude, you know what I mean? And that was it. We bonded. We was cool. And then when all the Eminem stuff popped off, he was using us to get his side out every day because, his machine wasn't fast enough. So that was really it. For us, that was just, a way for us to have some good content. But Zeno's always been cool. Dave Mays has always been pretty cool. I mean, that's it. They've always just been, I guess, pretty normal dudes. I mean, for me, I'm not really an industry type of guy. You know what I mean? That's why you don't really see me
never
around.
See you, Greg,
You know what I mean?
Ever since we shared,
I don't prefer to hang with people in the industry. No disrespect. I mean, we work and we have colleagues, but I'm more the type of person that you'll catch at a local club, hanging out, listening to hip hop. Anywhere I travel. I mean, even in other cities.
Where was it that we shared dorm rooms?
That was in Madison, Wisconsin.
What year was that?
That had to be like 99.
Yeah, I haven't seen him
Hip-hop
since. Yeah, man. This dude never comes out.
Nah. I saw you at a Jam Master J joint. That's the last time. No, it was South by Southwest.
South by Southwest, yeah. But we've seen each other 3 times.
3-4 times. We always texting and all that.
Yeah.
But it's almost.
But I like that about. I like that about you. I wish I could stay away from some of this shit.
Well, I mean, believe me, it's not like I'm not involved. I mean, I work my phone. I work my phone heavy. You know what I'm saying? I work up because you got to understand. In 97, 98, when we started, I've always been phone-based.
Yeah.
I've never been tied to the computer. So those are the things that gave me a leg up, and that's just the way I learned how to work all for the past 20 years. So I enjoy being out, just not necessarily at an industry function where it's work.
I get it, man. We got Greg Watkins and Chuck Creekmur here from allhiphop.com. We're celebrating 20 years of one of the most reputable platforms hip-hop has ever seen. Okay, Tracy, you got a question?
Yeah, something else I've noticed that shifted in journalism. There was a time where, the writer, they stayed behind the story. You were never going to write in first person. I started seeing changes at that where you were involved in the story. And then obviously we see a lot of writers now in front of the camera, in front of the mic. And I wonder if there's an added layer of ego that you guys may be witnessing because the writer is now the product in a sense.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
crazy. I mean, for that very reason, we find it extremely hard to find competent writers because most people are concerned with being on social media,
Right.
getting their likes, you'll see somebody post their pictures seconds after they meet an artist, and then you might not even see that article for weeks or something, something crazy. I mean, it may not be that extreme, but seriously, their commitment level is crazy when it comes to the being around celebrity rather than actually. I don't even have a lot of pictures from back in the day.
I was going to bring that up too because I
Yeah.
see a lot of people go heavy with the selfies, but then if you become too close to the artist, it can stop you from writing an honest feature.
That's another reason why, for me personally, that I'm not around and out and about too much. Not to go back to that, but also another thing is that in the colleges that we visit and speak to students, a lot of them are studying now what's known as convergence journalism, where they are learning to be in front of the camera, behind the camera, how to write stories. But when I'm out there, I am amazed at how many people are only interested in standing in front of the camera, as if that is the only skill set you need to be in front of the camera, you know. And so, you know, it's definitely been hard looking for people who are happy to put in the work to break a great story, rather than just sitting on in front of a red carpet and taking a selfie with Migos.
Yeah, well, yeah, with your hand in the air like this, you know what I mean?
Pretending to be friends.
Anybody in the corner?
All right. What's up, fellas? Congratulations on 20 years.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm a huge fan of you guys and the work that you guys do.
And vice versa, by the way.
Thank you,
That's
brother.
Mike Muse. You want him to write for Allhiphop?
Nah, you way above that.
No, never, man. I would love to. It'll be an honor. I have a question regarding journalism. Journalism, as you guys know, is under attack for many different levels and spaces. But at the same time, journalism is changing too as well. And so I'm always curious about the Constitution. The Constitution allowed you guys to get to 20 years. What an internal dialogue have you guys had that's made you stay so consistent when you could go for the clickbait and discuss where the bodies are buried, when you could go for the clickbait, you know, and expose it for the salaciousness of the viral moments that every journalist is going into now. So can you talk about the internal dynamics that you guys are discussing?
You know, it's honestly, man, we do it. We play very fair. I mean, it's weird, man, because people ask us these questions. Somebody was, and this is going to sound kind of stupid on the business level, but somebody was like, how do you guys, your advertising versus your editorial, we don't mix the two. Like, we literally don't mix the two. When it comes to the artists, we don't have an ulterior motive, whether the artist is, you know, from the 80s or 90s, or whether the artist is brand new. Like, we really genuinely play it fair. So that's why Greg can talk to like a Jimmy Henchman and get content, and I mean, and that's in a very work way, or a 50 Cent as well, and there not be any beef between either one, because we just play it fair.
Speaking of which, Jimmy, people hit me on the way up to tell me that it's not true. He didn't get stabbed up in jail.
Okay.
There was a rumor circulating that he got stabbed in jail.
Broke last night.
Yeah, and so he did not get stabbed up in jail.
That's what his publicist said.
Breaking news here.
He's not even in the jail that they're saying it happened.
Okay.
They don't know what 50 Cent's motive was, but I think we all do.
But Mike, man, we love people, right? We love hip hop. We have no ill intent, and we have no ulterior motive, and that's really what it is at the end of the day.
Nice.
I'm going to go to these phone lines, man. We're celebrating 20 years of allhiphop.com. We got TJ on the line. He's calling from Chicago. TJ, what up, man?
TJ, what's poppin'?
What's poppin',
What's
TJ?
going on, y'all?
What's poppin', man?
What's up?
Yo.
TJ.
Oh, man,
Hey, going back to the All Hip Hop, man, like, I remember when Ransom and Joe Budden had that battle, and that changed my mind about the battles, because they was going at it every day on there. And now when people battle, I'm looking for them to come back every single day, but you have to wait like 2 weeks, and that be blowing me. Like, I don't understand that. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, we live in I mean, I think I would be. Am I correct in saying that Drake kind of set the pace for this 24-hour reply thing? Yeah. And if you don't reply in 24 hours, it's like you're pretty much the next 48. You know, you're I mean, it's over. You know what I mean? After a certain amount of time.
I mean, everything's real time now. You know, the audience it's like watching a boxing match, and the guy waits 30 seconds to throw a punch. You know, that's a long time in the ring to throw a punch. So at the end of the day, I say, you know, these artists got to have something on deck. If you diss somebody, you should already have the other response written. It should be done.
Some hip hop shit, right? Allhiphop.com. TJ, you a citizen.
That's way in the morning.
Let's go to Dallas. Jonathan, how you doing?
What up, Jay?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Go ahead.
I've been a viewer of allhiphop.com since about 1999. I just want to say thank you guys very much for that part.
Thank you.
I had a question, though, because, and I'm not trying to criticize, but it seemed like your rumors section used to be really on point. I think the cat's name was Ill Seed or something like that. And it seems like lately the rumor section's kind of been a little blah with the way that social media is. You seem to get things more in real time than on the rumor section, and I was wondering what you guys are are seeing for the future of that section and just allhiphop.com in general?
Yo, it's real simple, man. Back in the day, quote unquote, artists, there were things that artists didn't reveal.
Mm-hmm.
There were parties that everyone wasn't privy to. There was a lot of stuff that was behind the curtain. And now everything is in front of you, right? And the only thing that you could really put out there is those real crazy secrets that we just still to this day don't reveal, don't say much about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the rumor section is some stuff that might already be out there, or some stuff that is already put out there, basically. There's some stuff. The rumor section hasn't changed. Be very clear. What has changed is probably you've seen it somewhere else, or you may see it yourself on your timeline, or whatever the case may be.
And the tone of the voice is different sometimes because it's not LC writing.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
Not all the rumors. Yeah, so.
How have you guys, because in this podcast era, YouTube era, where folks that have their own news shows on their own channels, so it's kind of saturated and everything is, it seemed like it's all intertwining now. Is it harder for you guys to get stories first? Is it harder for you to get artists, or is...
I think it just depends on who the artist is. We still get pitched every single day by, dozens of rap acts, so it's not necessarily hard, it's just, certain ones that we may be going after, sometimes it's difficult for the bigger acts because, they can go right to their Instagram account
and do it
and
themselves.
make any announcement that they want to make and control the message and how it comes out.
One of the things we're doing going forward is really creating new platforms for all hip hop, not everything just existing on the site too. So, when you talk about podcasts and other forms of visual and audio, we're definitely expanding on that.
Y'all doing your allhiphop.com podcast?
That's what we're working on. But I want younger. I want a couple of younger people to do it. I don't want to do it myself unless I'm just a component, or Greg is just a component to it. We really want to usher in some young voices that are like us when we were first starting. People that really love the culture.
And we also have a few, ideas that kind of go beyond the concept of a podcast for audio. We have 20 years worth of audio archived interviews with every single person you could think of living and passed away,
including Jay-Z.
Yeah. So.
I got an idea for you.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. That ass. And so that's what the future of all hip hop is, then, right? Just that expansion.
Yeah.
Right.
Expansion into offline events, strengthening up the platform, getting ready for what we feel is the next 5 to 10 years of technology. And
what is that, Greg?
Well, I think that, we're going to see artists launching their own platforms more as some of the technology platforms they rely on now continue to change the rules. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. When artists realize that their reach is no longer what it was because that's somebody else's audience and not theirs, they're going to come back a little bit towards people having their own platforms. And that's going to require a lot if you are going to be competitive, whether it's knowledge of how these things work on a technical level, on an ad level, and all that kind of stuff. But I think we're all seeing it with Facebook and Instagram's owned by Facebook, the kind of problems that exist or can arise when people can just,
take your page down.
Switch up the algorithm.
Yeah.
Switch up the algorithm. It's dangerous in both ways. And when you have that many people who can publish anything they want, it does lead to a lot of misinformation coming out and things of that nature. But then it's like, it's a fine line between freedom of speech and
people
not
do not
regulating
fact check.
They do not fact check. I'm curious to what kind of young journalists are you going to look for? Because it is a kind of a trend, a trash or not mentality when it comes to journalism and commentating now. There's no real area in between. People will just either jump to one extreme or the next, but there's no legs behind what people are commentating about, or there's no legs about what people are writing about. And that seemed to be real trendy. We often look for writers for our platforms, and I notice that people are kind of emulating what they see as popular right now. It's got, just this real extreme opinion with no backing behind it. You know what I mean?
I think it's tough. You have to really, really, really look hard now. You really have to vet people, too. You have to really vet people, and you have to pay attention to what their real intent is, what they really are all about. And I also think there's a hybrid. One person might serve this purpose as a personality or someone that salaciously does things, and then you might have somebody that's just a straight up journalist.
I like that.
And for me, on one side, it's also, how fast are these writers willing to really learn? What's their level of real passion and dedication to it? Because you really do have to kind of be trained. There's way more than just WordPress out there. So my thing is always looking for somebody who's really enthusiastic about learning how all this works, in addition to just being able to point a camera. Because in my opinion, as a writer nowadays, it's not enough to be able to go out and, shoot your content and email it to me. You need to be able to understand how to do the whole process, as a writer that's going to be valuable to a media organization. I'm sure you guys experience it too, where it's like, look, you're going to have to learn how to use social. You're going to have to learn how to use our platform that we use to publish content with. It takes a certain skill set and a mindset to want to be able to do that, in addition to being able to tell the story, accurately.
Got to do work.
Yeah, I think to play devil's advocate a little bit, some younger folks lean on their personal brand a lot because they feel very overworked in the journalism industry. Like I was working at a magazine and I saw people get cut left and right, and sometimes I would go home at 2:00 in the morning, and that was a regular thing. And then you think about that transaction, the exchange is uneven because what you get back is like little coins.
Absolutely. No, that's perfectly valid. I mean, you gotta understand, like I used to work at BET. I worked for the Source as a writer, Vibe as a writer. So I know all aspects of the game as a journalist.
Right.
And I get it. I got laid off in '99 right after I moved to New York.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I get it, man. And I never did what a lot of people do today, but in a lot of ways I did an early version of that, because I was always with Allhiphop. I was always with my personal thing. I could always do multiple things. I never relied on anyone to keep me paid or to keep me viable. And I think at the end of the day, that's how they see it.
Right.
Also, I do think that there's a certain level of entitlement, though, too fast without, putting in the proper work.
That's true.
And hey, at the end of the day, if this is going to be a 20-year career for you, you better get used to the ups and downs and the cuts and the this and the that, because nobody's just going to hand you a check. If you're not, in our business, they say, hey, if we invest X amount of dollars in you, we want a 10X multiple in return. And I pass that down to my writers. I'm like, yo, if we're going to invest in you and pay you, you need to really be giving us a good return that we can measure and make yourself invaluable to us. But too often I see people want to get in, they want to use the brand or a brand to get their name out there, and when it doesn't happen as fast as they want, they switch to something else, or they quit, or you don't hear from them again. And it's like, it
never works.
It never works. And for us, it becomes a matter of being able to identify and spot and hire these people much faster than maybe we did in the past, so that we aren't even wasting time having to train people to a certain level. So, it's a really fun business if you know what the fuck you're doing all the way around, from not just writing, but, adding and making it pop.
Right.
Greg Watkins is here. Chuck Creekmur is here, celebrating 20 years of Allhiphop.com. Man, I'm proud of you guys. Thank you, man. You've always been an inspiration. And for guys like me, it's good to look to my left and see you guys, or look to my right and see you guys here, because then I know, okay, I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
Right.
We not alone. Real quick, most impactful artist on allhiphop.com in the past 3 years. Rapper.
3 years. I
Slim
like that
Jesus.
Slim Jesus.
You got the most views.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
On our YouTube.
Okay.
Oh man, most impactful.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
I mean,
last
all
3
across
years.
the board.
Yeah. Just one. Name him. Name him.
That's tough.
Oh, don't
man.
think too long. Just say it. You ain't,
I mean, come on. That's like Kendrick.
I'm gonna shout out. That's tough, man.
in your heart, not
Okay.
in your heart.
I'm gonna salute my man Royce the 5'9".
Royce the 5'9". Okay.
Royce the 5'9".
Greg.
Okay. For me, it's gonna be Bumpy Knuckles.
Freddie Fox.
Yeah,
Okay.
his new project, Pop Dukes.
That's a great project.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Most impactful producer.
Oh, that's easy for me personally.
Yeah.
Southside 808.
Southside
Mafia. We're saying
3
last 3
years?
years.
3 years.
Yeah, last 3 years.
Yeah,
808.
yeah. We just had him up here too.
Incredible.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to say Just Blaze because he just did this joint for T.I. that I run to everything to. So I'm gonna have to say Just Blaze because right now he got that joint.
Okay.
The second song on T.I.'s album.
Okay. Podcast.
Man, I don't even know if I'm listening to any real podcast.
I can't name a podcast.
I listen to Drink Champs.
Okay, then Drink Champs.
Shout out to
Okay.
Nori. Shout out to
listen
Nori.
to that.
It would have been
That's fair.
Taxstone.
I used to
Taxstone.
listen to
It's-
Tax
yeah,
a lot.
Tax-
I enjoyed Tax a lot.
Free Tax.
Yeah, definitely got to give it
He
to
was a
Drink
cool
Champs.
dude.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
Journal other than allhiphop.com journalism platform.
Journalism platform.
Yeah. Is I'm saying that right? Yeah.
The thing.
You know what? I'm gonna give a lot of props to like the Shade Room, and I know people gonna think, oh, the Shade Room this, but you know what? I'm gonna say those cats work really hard over there, and for what it's worth, they churn out content. It may not be like some impeccably written article or something, but they churn out content in a way that really makes a lot of impact to everybody. I mean, Ja Rule cursed us out one time because we reposted something they posted. Like, get off Shade Room's jock. And we was like,
Well,
all right, Ja.
it's interesting, and they're always on the post.
Right.
What's happening at the moment.
Exactly.
And their
can't-
main platform is Instagram. It's not like people don't go to like theshaderoom.com.
Yeah.
And just like TMZ, I remember what you were saying about TMZ, and shout out to Van and all those guys. They do great work.
Yeah.
You can listen to Van talk and know that he does the knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very
and,
smart.
And I remember when the Michael Jackson story, they were the ones that broke that, and then that's when everybody stopped hating on it.
right,
And
absolutely.
realized, it's-
Bossip does a pretty decent job
Yep.
too, where their headlines look a little salacious and crazy, but it's really rooted in some facts.
Okay.
Like Bossip a lot.
Okay. That's what's up. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Man, I just want to get your take on this. Yes.
I want to say one thing real quick. A lot of people out there know me as Jigsaw. I got to salute my man Phil Ward. He passed away last week. He's the guy that gave me that name, a true soldier, a real dude, and I just got to give him a props to to what he did for me.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
what's up.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks a
cool.
lot.
All right, man, I want to thank y'all for coming by, man. Y'all want to hit them up directly on social media at
Grouchy Greg.
At Chuck Creekmur, CREEKMUR.
Okay, we want to thank our guest Nicholas Sparks for coming by today. His new best-selling, or soon-to-be best-selling novel, Every Breath. He's also the writer of the Notebook. That'll be out tomorrow. We want to thank Terry and Heather Dubrow for coming by. And their book on dieting, man, you might want to get that.
Right. The
You know.
Dubrow diet.
Okay, who we got on the show tomorrow? That anybody wonder?
Anybody.
Oh, never mind. All right, Mike Muse, how can they reach you, bro?
We're coming back.
Y'all coming back?
At I am Mike Muse, MUSNSAME on Twitter and Instagram.
Rich Nice from the A&R Room, thank you for coming through. How can they reach you?
Rich Nice Digital on Instagram, Rich Nice Digital on Twitter. Shout to the Kennedy Center. We did the Soul on the Horn this weekend down in D.C. at the Kennedy Center. Shout to D.
Nice.
Prosper and Natasha Diggs. We had the young 11-year-old DJ Cool Flash, and she did an amazing job. So shout to the whole team, Kennedy Center. Thank you, and shout to Q-Tip.
All right, Tracy G.
Twitter, Instagram for me, folks, at It's Tracy G, ITSTRACYG.
On tomorrow's show, we got AJ Gibson, Boots Riley, George Tillman Jr. So we got a packed show tomorrow, and I'm at the Happy Hour WHB.
All right, I'm at Real Sway across the board, man. You can find all these interviews on Sway'sUniverse.com as well as a YouTube channel on Sway's Universe. I think we just put up Joey Perp. We just put him up.
Yeah.
Today, you can check that out. Also, who else can they check out? HB, help me out
Rachel
here.
Ray is up there as well, Sway, and so many other people that we had the opportunity to talk to in the past week. It was great. If you missed any of the conversations, go to SiriusXM.com/on-demand to hear it back.
We got the band The Revolution from Prince and the Revolution.
That was
That's
a
up.
great conversation.
Yeah. Dave East and Styles P is up right now.
Yep.
And then maybe go back and watch the Yellow Beezy interview we did like 2 weeks ago, and we wish him the best.
Absolutely.
And his family and friends as well. We want to send out our prayers and hope to them. All right, and until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we have nothing left to say.
Hashtag that hoe, no love.